Let us study about another organelle now, which is known as the lysosome. And again, there are these four subtopics that we will study under about lysosomes: the introduction of lysosome, the function of lysosome, the formation of lysosome, and the distribution of lysosome. So, what are lysosomes? Lysosomes are tiny vesicles that contain digestive enzymes. Now, when I say a vesicle, I simply mean to say it is a tiny vacuole like structure. It is a small sized vacuole. What does it contain? It contains something known as a digestive enzymes. Now, I hope you understand what is digestive. Digestive is something that breaks down nutrients. A process of breaking down something is known as digestion. Breaking down. Let me increase the size of the pen nib. Alright, and what is an enzyme? Now, enzymes are special types of proteins. Now, let us try to understand what proteins are. Now, proteins are substances or biomolecules that make up our body. For example, our hair, they are made up of protein. Our skin is made up of protein. Our bones are not made up of proteins. They are made up of something else called as known as calcium. But enzymes usually make up a variety of structures in our body, as I just told you about, for example, hair and skin. But there are certain proteins, some proteins that do not make parts of our body but act as chemicals that increase the speed of chemical reactions inside cells. Now, inside a cell, let me just draw a cell. For example, there's a cell. There are many processes taking place. One such process is, for example, digestion. Another process is respiration. So there are many such processes that are taking place inside cells, but the speed of those processes are not very fast under normal circumstances. But if there are these special proteins called enzymes present inside cells, the speed of these processes increase not thousands but millions of times. So, coming back once again to what lysosomes are tiny bags, extremely small bags called vesicles. And what do they contain? They contain special proteins that we call enzymes. And what do these proteins or enzymes do? They help in digestion, they help in breaking down different substances. Now, what can those substances be? Those substances can be nutrients, those substances can be foreign agents or outsiders, which we will study in the next slide. Let's move on to the next slide. So, before we go to the functions, before we try to understand what is the function performed by these lysosomes, let us understand how are they formed, the formation of lysosomes. Now, lysosomes are, what are lysosomes? Just try to recall, they are proteins. And where are proteins made? The proteins are made in a structure called as the rough endoplasmic reticulum. We call this organelle, it's an organelle. We abbreviate it as RER, and let us have a look at this diagram. Now, this is the nucleus. This whole thing here is the nucleus, and here you see the nuclear pores. So the nucleus gives the cell a direction. It orders the cell to make some proteins or these digestive enzymes that have to be packed in the lysosomes. So this first of all gives an instruction, and who gets this instruction? This instruction is given to structures called ribosomes. Can you see these blue tiny dots, marble-like structures? These tiny blue dots are called ribosomes, and ribosomes are the factories where protein is made, where proteins are made. So the nucleus sends out some information through these pores called nuclear pores into a structure called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So this is the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and this organelle rough endoplasmic reticulum has got ribosomes on the surface. So once the information and the order from the nucleus is sent to the rough endoplasmic reticulum to make uh, these digestive enzymes that have to be packed in lysosomes. This particular information goes to the ribosomes, and the ribosome then makes proteins here. So they start making these digestive enzymes, these proteins. Now once these proteins are made, these proteins are then transported. These proteins are transported from within the endoplasmic reticulum, within the tubes of these endoplasmic reticulum, and they are packed here into a vesicle. Now this vesicle is called a transport vesicle. What is inside the transport vesicle? The digestive enzymes. So there are these digestive enzymes inside this transport vesicle. Now where is this transport vesicle going to? It will move towards the organelle which we uh, know as the Golgi body. And once this transport vesicle reaches the Golgi body, this vesicle fuses with the Golgi body and it releases all of those digestive enzymes inside the Golgi body. But why are these enzymes coming to the Golgi body? They are coming here because the digestive enzymes that were made in the endoplasmic reticulum were not functional. They were not completely ready. And in order to make them functional or completely ready to function, they are sent into the Golgi body. Now these digestive enzymes are now modified or refined. They are made completely functional. And once this process takes place, the digestive enzymes are then the finally finished digestive enzymes. Let's draw these finally finished digestive enzymes in red. The finally finished digestive enzymes are now packed into another tiny vesicle, and this vesicle basically becomes the lysosome. Now these lysosomes usually are not packed in secretory vesicles. Now this is slightly different thing. A secretory vesicle is slightly different thing. Remember, there are large different types of proteins coming to the Golgi body. Only a few types of digestive enzymes are converted into lysosomes. Now what happens to this lysosome? This lysosome now simply stays inside the cytoplasm. Large number of these lysosomes are now going to stay inside the cytoplasm. I hope you have understood how lysosomes are formed. Let's go to the next slide and see how they function. Now, what is the function of the lysosome? The lysosomes perform three functions. In unicellular eukaryotes, let us recall what are unicellular eukaryotes. Eukaryotic cells are those cells that have organelles in them. For example, they will have a nucleus in them, they will have endoplasmic reticulum in them, they will also have Golgi body in them, they will also have vacuoles in them, they will have mitochondria in them. So this is an eukaryotic cell. But when I say unicellular eukaryote, I mean to say an organism whose body is made up of only one cell, and this organism has got organelles inside. An example of such an organism is the amoeba. Now, the function of lysosome in unicellular eukaryotes such as amoeba is to digest food, because these unicellular eukaryotes do not have a digestive system like us. For example, in humans, we have a mouth, we have an esophagus, we have a stomach, we have got a small intestine, a large intestine, etc., etc. But amoeba is such a small, tiny organism made up of one cell. It does not have any of these organs. So, how does this organism digest food, obtain its nutrition? By using lysosomes. We'll just see how it happens. Another function of lysosome is to break down worn out, not work out, this is worn out organelles or even cells. What do I mean by this is, when a cell becomes old, let us say this is the cell of our body and we have a nucleus, and let us say, let me just draw, so this is the mitochondria, so let us say this is the mitochondria. Now uh, let us say this mitochondria somehow becomes a little old. It has become worn out. When I say the word worn means to become damaged in some way. So let us assume that this mitochondria has become damaged in some way. Now, if this there is no use for this mitochondria inside the cell. So what the cell does is that it has its own lysosomes. Now these are the lysosomes, and what the cell does is it tells its lysosomes to go and digest this particular mitochondria. So these lysosomes will go and they will digest this mitochondria. They will break down this mitochondria into smaller fragments, tiny fragments, which can then be utilized by the cell, or if they are not useful for the cell, they can be thrown out of the cell. So this is the second function of the of the lysosome, to break down worn out organelles or even cells. Now, when I say cells, what do I mean? Is, let us say, uh, let me first of all erase and make a little bit of space for myself here. Let us say that there's this cell, there's this cell of our body, and let us say this is a white blood cell. Now, white blood cells in our body act as soldiers. They act like guards, protectors of the body. Now, these particular cells are rich in lysosomes. They have a lot of lysosomes. Now, if they find out on their way a cell that has been destroyed or is diseased, let us say this cell is infected by a virus, let us say it has got a disease, then what this white blood cell will do, it will engulf it will engulf this particular cell on the inside. It can engulf it, right? Engulf is to swallow. It swallows this particular cell. Okay, and let's just refine it just a little teeny weeny bit. So it swallows this cell like this, and then these lysosomes will act on this particular cell just the way they did on the mitochondria, and then this cell will be broken down. So what lysosomes are trying to do? They are trying to protect our body from infected cells. The dead old cells are also digested by white blood cells or other cells like that. Let us now go to the third function of lysosomes. The third function of the lysosome is to protect our body from bacteria and virus. Let us look at this image here. Let us look at this image here. Or let us draw our own image, and then we'll come back to this image here. Now, let us say we have a healthy cell. This is the cell of our body. It is very much healthy, and this is the nucleus, and it also has lysosomes. Now, uh, there is this virus. Let us say the virus that causes cold. This virus, it tries to get inside, and it succeeds in getting inside the cell. Now, what this virus can do, it basically, how viruses act, they attack the nucleus and start controlling the entire cell. So before these viral particles can enter the nucleus, the lysosomes attack them. The lysosomes attack them, and they digest these tiny foreign particles called virus. So the three functions, let us just revise the three functions of lysosomes. The first function is to digest food, but not in humans, but in unicellular eukaryotes such as amoeba. The second function performed by lysosomes in living organisms is to break down worn out or destroyed or damaged organelles or damaged cells. And the third function of lysosome is to protect our body from disease causing agents such as bacteria and virus. There are a wide variety of bacteria that can cause diseases such as sore throat or diarrhea, or pneumonia, etc., etc. And I hope you know, we have a viral pandemic going on now, which is the coronavirus. So our body tries to protect us from these foreign particles. Let us look at this diagram that I have here, and this shows the basic outline of the process of digestion by lysosomes. So that there are these food particles in case of amoeba. So the food is ingested by the cell. The food is taken inside the body by the cell, and this process is called endocytosis. Endo is to take in, and cytosis is cell. So endocytosis is to take something inside the cell. So the food particles are endocytosed, right? So endocytosis has taken place. Now once the food particle is here, it is present inside a vacuole. Why do we call this a vacuole? Because you see, the food is surrounded by the cell membrane, and so this vacuole is called a food vacuole. Now once the food vacuole is inside the cell, the lysosomes, you see, they are coming out of the Golgi body. The lysosomes that contain digestive enzymes, remember, digestive enzymes are inside the lysosomes. These lysosomes, they then fuse with the food vacuole, and once these enzymes are inside, whatever food particles have, for example, they are rich in carbohydrates or proteins or fats, everything is broken down, and now the broken down content, the useful substances, are absorbed, or they are released outside this vacuole. This is again a vacuole. This is called the digestive vacuole. Why? Because digestion is taking place inside that. So the food vacuole and the lysosome fuse to form the digestive vacuole. So out of the digestive vacuole, the useful nutrients such as sugars, useful proteins, useful fats, they get into inside the body of the cell, which the cell can then use. But all the waste products are then sent out of the body of the cell by the process called exocytosis. Exo is outside and cytosis is cell, yeah, from the cell. Right, so I hope you've understood the three functions of the lysosomes, and I hope you've understood how the cell performs these particular functions. Now, instead of a food particle, these could be bacteria or virus also, right? Anyways, let's go to the last part, is distribution. Distribution is what type of cells have lysosomes and what type of cells do not have lysosomes. So all animal cells, protists, what are protists? Don't be confused. Protists are unicellular eukaryotes. So all the animal cells, all the single-celled eukaryotic organisms such as amoeba have them. In plant cells, lysosomes are very rare. They are rare. They are not found in all types of plant cells. So they are rare, found only in a few types of plant cells. And with this, we come to an end of lysosomes.